this program so much. Take a listen to yesterday's podcast at any time you please. 9 a.m. this morning, I'll rock the bank with you and pass out that first $1,000 keyword of Tuesday. Also at 7:45, do have Haunted Schoolhouse and Laboratory tickets for you as they're open now, and I'll get you in 7:45 this morning. The number you need, 330-450-7625. You can text that number throughout the program as well. A little bit of a scheduling issue with Scott from waitingfornextyear.com yesterday. He'll join us today at 8. A lot to ask him about, including the report going a little viral that the Browns never even offered Joe Flacco a contract to stick around. A lot of people placing that at the feet of Deshaun Watson, saying, well, we know why, right? Deshaun felt threatened, didn't like how he saw that whole thing go down. Joe becoming a quick fan favorite. Next thing you know, he wanted him out. Okay, let's say that's true. I don't care what he wanted. Why did he get it? Why did he get it? Why? Because you sunk all that money into him? I think that's all the more reason why I tell him, no, man, because I did that, I have to do things like this when you're getting hurt and when you can't play and things like that. So, we'll talk to Scott about that. Does he think the season's over? I saw some Browns media yesterday I shouldn't say trying to spin it, who do have the opinion of, look, it's not, this part sucks. Not necessarily.
And you're watching Soundbites. Soundbites, powered by Big Machine. My new song, The Storyteller, is great for a road trip, because every road trip has its own story.
The crowd. Pretty common theme these days. Metallica, every year's the something. Pretty common theme in rock music. The crowd being heavy and I bleed it out. I mean, it sounds just like bleed it out. Laid on the floor again, one knock at the door and then word of the day. Scott at 8, and then apparently Netflix is going through yet again another cancellation suite. People upset with the CEO of Netflix, some of the activity he has exhibited here, and people are like, that's it, I'm done ripping up my subscription. You know, I'll never read your paper ever again. I'll never listen to that loudmouth idiot Stansberry ever again. Right? People are upset about what Reed Hastings is doing with some of his money. It bothers me a lot less than some other people, but apparently they're walking away from Netflix. I think they're mostly going to be fine, and it's because they're a collection center of entertainment, including, I've been watching that new docu-series, Monsters, on the Menendez brothers. It's not necessarily like, geez, this is so good, but good enough. But it gets us into that weird territory again with, like, based on a true story, inspired by how much of this stuff happened, how much of it didn't. But apparently right around the corner now, Netflix is also bringing out another series on those brothers, like in their own words, where it's like, you know, interview tapes from prison and the like. I would be a little bit more interested to watch that. Making my point that I think Netflix, as long as they have the content, what Reed Hastings is doing with his money, I don't think will bother people that much. But there was a little bit of a cancellation issue for them. We'll look into that part of our 8 o'clock hour. Verizon suffered an outage yesterday. From what I understand, it affected some of the AT&T users here in my building that I know, but I'm reading a lot less about that online. That's pretty interesting, but we'll take a look at that. Also, a couple of more celebrity deaths. Pete Rose passing away, sadly. Also, Dikembe Mutombo. And Rob Schneider, of all people, weighed into the Dikembe Mutombo situation. And wait till you hear what he had to say about this. We'll take a look at that next here on Rock 106.9.
The Stansberry Show.
And look what you've become, a schmuck.
On Rock 106.9.
Money won, twice as sweet as money earned. You're going to find out at 9 o'clock, scoring yourself that Rock the Bank $1,000 keyword. Also, kickoff feature Tuesday at 9 as well. Yesterday, unfortunately, had to spend a lot of the time on the program talking about celebrity death, and I would imagine we're going to have to do that again today, because yesterday we brought up John Ashton, who had been in the Beverly Hills Cop series known as Detective Taggart. A few other things as well, but that's, I believe, most people listening to me would probably know him from that. Chris Christopherson, I mean, I don't even have enough time to list all of his achievements, everything he had contributed to the entertainment world, the world itself, raconteur, if you will. You know, a little bit of a renaissance man, a little bit of everything rolled into one human being there. And then we talked to little Maggie Smith, who I had missed, and I had made that apology yesterday. I'm not necessarily the biggest Harry Potter fan. I'm not out to criticize anybody who likes it. I saw, I think, the first handful of movies through an ex-girlfriend years and years ago. They seemed okay, right? Whatever, but I just hadn't seen that announcement. And then yesterday, we get two more from the sports world, pretty big. You know, Pete Rose, we'll bring that up with Scott, and, you know, we'll get into it a couple of times throughout the program as well. Dikembe Mutombo, NBA star. And when I saw it yesterday, like, you know, like a lot of celebrity deaths, I always say, you know, we don't really go overboard here on this show about it. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. Because he just seemed like a good guy, right? I was like, oh, that's a bummer. And sure enough, in this building, when something happens, everybody will text one another to be like, just so you know, I know you probably have your news alerts on, but it is that, just, you know, make sure everybody sees. You know, so, you know, I get text from across the hallway. He's a little broken up about it. I was like, oh, God, man, Dikembe Mutombo hit people on some level. And I'll say this. Americans know how to pronounce and spell Dikembe Mutombo. You made your imprint on the world, right? We haven't even get to the finger wag thing yet. We haven't even gotten there yet. Very famous. That's a great trash talk type moment in sports. Obviously, sports being mostly a television product. And that moment lives in infamy. Now a GIF online. You think he's better than Harris? No, finger wag. You think this? You think you're gonna allow annex land? Finger land, right? I mean, with the amount of times you see that, it might as well be the crying Jordan meme. Willing to let Dikembe Mutombo rest in peace. People out there quick with the... So Rob Schneider, who people I think mostly would know from SNL back in the day, probably Deuce Bigelow would be another big one, The Hot Chick maybe, few other projects. Is it Benchwarmer, some of that? I think we're reaching now for Rob Schneider projects. He's been known to lean conservatively, has been vocal about it, has paid some penance for it, meaning plenty of people have been like, all right, wrap it up, never want to hear from him ever again. I don't think it's a cancel moment. I think it's just another in the long line of, I was never really all in on this guy anyway. You've given me another excuse not to like you. Kind of out, right? He suffered a little bit of a leaning down the road of something that they felt like he shouldn't have been talking about from the stage. And so he, before even a ton of news broke about Dikembe, kind of posted this. So like he must have gotten a news alert before, you know, a lot of people had seen it. But what he did was went to the X platform and quote posted. So he took a Dikembe Mutombo old post from December of 2021 and posted it to his own timeline. In Dikembe's OP, original post, he's asking people that holiday season of 2021 to stay informed on trusted sources like, you know, the WHO, and make sure you're getting vaccinated. Only together can we be safe and defeat COVID and the like, and, you know, doing his bit. And, you know, I don't mean that was not me being critical there. Like, he felt like that's what he should be doing with his platform, and so he did it. And if that's what he wanted to be doing, that's what he should have been. Rob Schneider then took that post, and yesterday, and like I said, even before the news, like, broke really wide, said, I'm sure, you know, I am and have been throughout my career a disrespectful person, for sure. And I'm going to say a bunch of disrespectful things between now and the end of this program today, and for the remainder of my career, I would hope. There is a moment, like, when people have died, it's like, give this 10 minutes. I mean, 10 minutes? First, it was complications of brain cancer at 58 that took Dikembe Mutombo. That's what did it. Are we going to hear down the road, years down the road, ads like, if you were vaccinated and you are now experiencing, there's a likelihood maybe that happens. Sure. Do I think you are headed for ads like this down the road? If you were never vaccinated and are interested in being a sperm donor, I think you're headed for that at some point, maybe. Sure. I don't buy this mass conspiracy that, like, when any now time, not even any, it's kind of interesting when people kind of pick and choose when this was jazz. And again, I didn't do it out of pure honest to God laziness and a little like, I don't think I'm gonna die. There was a little bit of that. But it wasn't like, I don't know how to get me, I don't like this guy or that guy, and warp speed, and I don't like this, and this person's this, and I don't get caught up in that. The guy was 58 years old and a pretty solid dude off the court, which is why people could pronounce and spell Dikembe Mutombo. It wasn't just the playing. You can give this 15 minutes after the guy dies. At 58 years old, by the way, of brain cancer. It's pretty young, man. I just don't see it. There's been a couple of weird situations we've seen with high school age athletes where it's been, people have made some suggestions, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. And it's interesting enough to where I'm like, somebody look into that. I'm not ready to be like, that's what it is and you know it. Nah, I can't go there. And the man was 58 years old and he died of brain cancer, and you have zero evidence to go on that this was anything to do with the vaccine whatsoever. You could give it a minute. And I think this is the reason why, Rob, so many people are out to get you at arm's length. It's not necessarily just that you're good conservative. It's that you're bad at it.
The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
All right, so yesterday, sitting in here, minding my own business, working on some things, little post-show issues, you know, things in the like. Bursting through the door comes a coworker. Yo, man, your phone work right now? I said, well, I don't know. I said, I texted you just 10 minutes ago to tell you I put the promos in, right? I said, yeah. He's like, I mean, but he's like, but does your phone work? Like, I texted you. I don't know. Like, can we go? Well, what is going on, right? It's like, apparently, man, he's like, people can't make or receive phone calls right now. I was like, oh, well, that does seem significant, right? Like, I was like, okay, all right, come in here and bother me with that then. He's like, look at your phone screen. I said, okay, does it say SOS at the top right corner, like where the battery, percentage and all that stuff is? And it's like, it sure does? Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. He goes, yeah, you're a Verizon customer. Right? I said, yeah. He goes, apparently, and he had it as Verizon and AT&T, but the more and more I read, I'm seeing it listed as Verizon. Apparently, there was some spotty AT&T coverage yesterday with this. But as of 5 o'clock our time Eastern yesterday, they said, look, we're working to resolve it. It is now resolved. I can make and accept calls. Quote, we know how much people rely on Verizon and apologize for any inconvenience some of our customers experienced today. We continue to work around the clock to fully resolve the issue. SOS, what does it stand for? A lot of people, I guess, have it as Save Our Souls is one of the things people have attributed to it, or Save Our Ship. They say actually it doesn't really stand for much. SOS is just Morse code for a distress signal. That was kind of one of those things we kind of knew as kids, right? There was a little bit of that issue. So apparently what it means in the cellular world is you just cannot get on the network. So if you're connected to Wi-Fi, a lot of these, phone carriers have figured out how to give you texting capabilities and messaging and be able to be on the internet. As long as you're connected to Wi-Fi, you can still message that way. And so I said yesterday, I was like, well, this isn't quite the problem then that I thought it was 20 minutes ago, because now, of course, people need to be able to get a hold of one another and there are emergencies and the like. But I mean, if how people discuss their cell phones every day is the reality of the relationship they want with them, then not being able to connect fully to the cellular service is exactly what I want that phone to be, right? When's the last time your phone rang and you thought to yourself, oh, good, right? Like, not that often. You may not get as annoyed about when your phone rings as I do, because I'm an irrational maniac, right? And I understand that. I'm not looking for more people to be like me. I used to. I gave up on that. That's a fool's errand, and I don't think it's how everybody ends up happy, right? It's like, am I just like beaming happiness? No, not really, right? So like, maybe that's not make Stansbury the blueprint. All right, fair enough. I got that. So you probably don't get as angry when your phone rings as I do. But you're never like running around the house like, yay, right? Like, that doesn't happen. The cell phone now is essentially that meme about working in the office. I have plenty of coworkers who are this person. This meeting could have been an email, right? Well, that's the cell phone now, right? This phone call could have been a text message. That's how I view the phone. I actually think we need more meetings, but I could use more text messages and less phone calls in my life. Maybe that's just a preference thing. I'm bad about the text messages too. A buddy of mine texted me the other night, a guy I like. I genuinely like that guy. I looked at the phone and I thought to myself, I don't feel like texting right now. And so I was like, I'm not doing it, right? I was like, I'll get back to him. And then a day went by and I was like, that's right, I didn't do it. And now it's been like 2 or 3 days, and I'm like, it feels strange now. So this is my apology in front of all of you. I feel bad because I genuinely like that guy. And now he's sitting there thinking, I text this guy, dude, he's like, but he's like kind of known to not like to be, you know what I mean? So, but I want to talk to that guy, but I'm bad about it. But I thought to myself yesterday, this doesn't bother me. It made me like, okay, I saw a lot of conspiracy theories. Oh my God, they're taking the networks down and it's a plan for this. And oh my God, the debate's tomorrow night. They don't want us talking about it. And like, I saw so much craziness. And all I could think about yesterday was how this bothered my life. And by bothered, I mean interrupted my life. Not at all. Not at all. I don't really have a lot of phone calls with people all that much anymore. Most thing handles through text messaging, email, social media messages. I have Wi-Fi here in the building. I have Wi-Fi at home. Honestly, I would have never, if somebody didn't ask me about it, and it wasn't in the headlines of things to be discussing this morning of like, here's what happened in the world yesterday, Your job is to kind of know about events that took place. I'm not sure I would have known that it happened. Again, don't base everything off of me, though. I'm guessing most of you are having a lot more phone calls and conversations every day than I am, right? Dealing with kids in practice and, exes and where do you want to pick them off? And your lawyer said this. And right? So you probably got more of that going on than I do, right? Which that lawyer part sounds like not good. I don't necessarily want that part, but, you keep all of that. But I would have never known that I think...
The Stansberry Show.
I just wish I hadn't drunk all that cough syrup.
On Rock 106.9.
9 a.m. is New Turn Tuesday, which gives you new Lincoln Park, heavy as the crown, and then also rock the bank with you. Pass out that first $1,000 keyword as well. Almost too much celebrity death to go around. People don't normally say it comes in threes. We got a few more than that. Baseball legend Pete Rose, passing away at the age of 83. And Pete has been famous my entire life and controversial for almost all of them. He was must-see TV for baseball for sure. According to TMZ, cause of the death a little unclear yet. Was 83 years old, known as Charlie Hustle. And that Rose on the team, the Hall of Fame discussion and so first, his playing career, he's a Hall. He played a Hall of Fame career on the field. Now, I've said plenty of times, I understand the sport of football, and I am versed in its history, much more so than baseball. But I feel pretty confident Pete Rose played a professional career on the field. Now, I understand there's people, some of them are going to be called the purists and the like. Bet on the sport, it's just, I'm taking you off my board, you're out. Okay, I'll tell you why I find the conversation so interesting. Because I live and do a show in a Hall of Fame city. And I can't tell you how many huge football fans. I talk football a lot on the program, almost too much. And I've met guys who like that sport way more than me. Born and raised here. Never stepped one foot inside that hall. So my point is, do you think any of those guys I just talked about don't think LT's a Hall of Famer? Pete's a Hall of Famer. Does it really matter? Now, I'm not asking the fans. I'm looking at the hall here. Does it matter? You're a building based on objects that don't move around so people can come see them behind glass in a digital... What are we doing here? Well, he bet on the sport, Stansberry. Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. It's not like I love it. Not like I'm clapping for it. And I'm not even one of these guys now. It's like, well, who cares? I mean, it's all the money now attached to these sports is all gambling and this and that. It's not even that for me. I gotta be honest with you. If you're a manager and you bet on your team to win, I don't like it. Now, does it mess with the integrity of the sport? Sure. It does. It does. But Pete Rose is one guy in one team, in one division, on one side of baseball. Meaning, he affected the integrity of the games he was betting on and playing in and managing. What was more effective? I'll tell you why I've always been like, put him in. There's a debate on how much steroids helped you, right? But there is no debate on whether or not it helped you. And so that hall is, I mean, guys, we know, right? Littered with dudes who were doing that. helping you stay at that career long enough. And the question about Pete isn't whether or not when you watched him, because here's another thing that makes his gambling easy to swallow. You show me one time, you show me one game, one play, one instance on any piece of film anywhere where Pete Rose doesn't look like he's trying his hardest to do something. The man's nickname, literally Charlie Hustle. So it's easier. I know you can't really make special rules for special guys, and when it comes to stuff like this, I get that. But now they win until after they're gone. This is for him mostly. We already think he's a Hall of Famer. We think he's in. This isn't for us. Most baseball fans are never going to Cooperstown and are never going to go to the Hall of Fame. They think he's in. This was for him and his family. And all we're doing now is robbing people of that moment. We could go further if you want for guys who are in Hall of Fames and what we found out happened after they were already in, and do we take people out? No, well, we don't do that, but we definitely don't let Pete in ever because of it. I mean, right? There are other wild conversations to be had out there. Think about Lawrence Taylor. Think about what he's been arrested for in hotel rooms. Underage women. What would you rather have? A manager betting on a team? Players having sex with, you know what? I don't even like the phrase underage women. Underage girls. I mean, I know you can do that with anything. Well, what about this? That, well, you could be doing this. Time fans are right. Meaning Pete Rose is a Hall of Famer. None of us were ever going to go. You just took this from this guy. 40, 50, you get... Here's the thing about him. He was tough. And we're just because of a misstep. That's integrity. It seems as if most younger fans, and by younger, I'm going to say me, my age, and younger, that from there, because that's those dudes, icon for those guys. My brother's about 7 years older than I. I mean, we obviously grew up loving Pete Rose, and you knew him, and you pretended to be him with the slide and the whole thing, and right, and he can't get along with his own guys, Johnny Bench and the whole thing, right? Yeah, okay, yeah. But Pete for my brother's era was that's the dude, right? Kind of one of those guys. So it seems like the younger fans are kind of dude, he didn't bet on him to lose though, right? You almost have to respect the guy that bets on them to win. I kind of like that. I like it. And so it brings up the issue of when do you go in, when do you not go into the Hall. And I think it's a great sin of halls if you wait until somebody dies. Because it almost feels like then you're doing it begrudgingly. And I don't know how the family's not going to feel like that. Now, that's a blanket statement, and I said it in a Hall of Fame city. So, let me clean this up a little by saying, I understand, tell you, man, it's been on the ballot for a little while, it's always been a little marginal. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. And then there are guys where it feels all right, we're slighting dudes. Pete Rose, Terrell Owens kind of comes to mind, where it's dude, really? Come on, I mean, T.O., dude, the eye test tells you, pretty damn good, right? It's kind of one of those things. So do you put him in now? Mike says, if they offer it to him now, I hope the family tells him to stick it. Now, I'm going to guess that a lot of you are who you come from. Meaning, you're probably one of your parents, right? Maybe a mixture of both. A little bit. 60-40, a little bit of that. Some of you are thinking, God, I hope not. That was raised my nightmares. I hope I'm like neither one of them, right? The point I'm driving to is, I feel like there are members of Pete's family who are definitely going to be like Pete, who are going to be you know what? I'm the people's champ. And in today's world, that's almost more worth it. Keep it. We're good over it. It might be what they say. It might be now. That would take the honor. It's an honor to be, even considered to be a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean?
More or less for your family, and it's more or less for your fan base. And I'm big on both of those two things right there. And I know most of the people who rooted for me my whole career would love to see me in the Hall of Fame as a living player. I can't think of anything good about that.
Well, I don't know if I would feel comfortable going as far as I can't think of anything good about that. But I will say that living in a Hall of Fame city has made me pay attention to Hall of Fame ceremonies, announcements, who's put on lists. I pay more attention to that now than I ever would have. And one of the best moments of all of this now is when the player finds out. Daughter by his side, wife, maybe whoever. Player wants to cry, but men don't. Men don't. Got a little. Can't though. Not a pussy. I'm an alpha. Can't do it. Wife's got tears all down her face. Kids running around the house. Everybody jumping around. We don't get it now.
He's actually fucking here on time.
You don't get it now. Biggest